Today we have invited you to join us to hear from 3 Utahns who are experiencing the impacts of the staffing crisis that we're facing that is negatively impacting Utahns with developmental and other disabilities. So today we're going to allow them to share their stories, and I will begin with LuWenn Jones.
Thank you. I'm LuWenn Jones. My family and I are from Cedar City. We raised our family in Cedar City. We have 3 children. Our middle daughter, Elaine, is significantly impacted by disabilities. In our home, we use the word crisis carefully. Since our daughter Elaine's premature birth, her life has been defined by one crisis after another. A diagnosis of autism came at age 2.5, and that felt like a crisis. Puberty, followed by a diagnosis of bipolar at the age of 12, was a constant sleep-deprived state of chaos and crisis for years. At age 16, we added seizure disorder to her list of diagnoses. Then a series of illnesses over the next 2 years caused immune system issues that sent her into a serious bipolar crisis that lasted more than 6 months and led to 2 inpatient psychiatric hospital stays in Salt Lake City. With no resolution to her mental state and the realization that we simply did not have the proper resources in Cedar City to stabilize her, we made the horribly difficult decision to place her at the Utah State Developmental Center in American Fork for stabilization. We did that with the hope that someday she would return to our home. After 6 months, she was fortunately stable enough to be discharged, but we realized she would need more constant support than we alone could provide on a day-to-day basis. In short, she would need professional care for the rest of her life. As we searched for residential options, we worried that we may end up moving our family from Cedar City to provide an appropriate placement. She already had an amazing after-school provider program in Cedar City with trusted and highly skilled staff, and we were reluctant to move her from that support completely. What a huge relief when Chrysalis offered a spot in a home in Cedar City with staff led by an experienced house manager who was also a mother of children with disabilities. Elaine was able to return to her community, her beloved teachers, and her CTA after-school program and stay close to her family. She has been in the same home for nearly 7.5 years and has transitioned from the CTA after-school program into their day program as an adult. We have seen her thrive and reach a level of independence and functioning we once would have thought impossible. However, in those years, we have watched countless direct care staff come and go from Elaine's program. Some of them are not even there long enough for me to learn their names. Others have become close friends and form real attachments to Elaine, but inevitably they move on. They are attracted to the job because they are good-hearted, kind, compassionate, and loving people. Some have a true gift for connecting with Elaine and advancing her skills and goals, but I cannot fault them for pursuing other career opportunities when their beginning wages are relatively low, even in a better economy, and relative to the difficult work they are tasked with. This crisis we now face in the provider system did not happen suddenly. It is the culmination of years of underfunding combined with the sudden effect that the pandemic and changing economy have brought, with the resulting rapid changes to cost of living and the landscape of our workforce. Please hear me when I say that direct care with individuals who have significant support needs cannot be done remotely. It is hands-on, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. Disability does not take time off. It doesn't go away for holidays. We can't delay or postpone meeting these needs because we are in a pandemic and there are other competing needs. It is immediate and in our faces every day. In the past 1.5 years, Elaine's house has undergone so much turnover in staff and house managers, I'm losing confidence in their ability to properly care for her. Last Friday, I received word that yet another house manager who had only been there several months was quitting, and a new house manager had been selected from the direct care staff. I've only met this staff a handful of times as she only works with Elaine in the mornings. She knows little about the other 20 hours of Elaine's day, her communication, her routines, her complex health protocols, and medication management. Many things are slipping through the cracks because of this kind of turnover. Instead of having a new house manager every 2 or 3 years, this will be her 4th change in house management in 8 short months. The staff continues to get younger and younger, less and less equipped to handle the complex needs of Elaine, her roommates, and others in the system. My greatest fear right now is for Elaine's future. We know that she will likely outlive us. If the provider system implodes and does not recover from this staffing crisis, which is the worst I have seen in my 20 years of being involved in the Utah disability community, What will happen to Elaine and others like her? The funds that are being requested now to allow providers to pay direct care staff a starting wage of $17 an hour is an important, critical first step, but that's all it is. It's just the first step to save this vital infrastructure in our disability system. It's frankly time for us to recognize that we can no longer, in good conscience, ignore the needs of individuals with disabilities in our state. We can do more. We can do better. Our disability system was barely above failing, and now we are failing.
My name is Neil Allred. I work for a provider agency called Northeastern Services. I also represent UACS, which is the Provider Association in Utah, that meets the needs of about 80% of the community-based waiver. I wanted to speak today about this crisis. The situation that we have found ourselves in is a very difficult one. About a year ago, when we were working through the pandemic, we started to notice that the wages that we were able to pay, which on average were $11.45 an hour, we started to see that was not enough. We started to see the continued increase of turnover. In the industry, we are between 70 and 95% on turnover rate annually. That, to LuWenn's point, makes it very difficult for employees to know the individuals that we serve. With the crisis continuing and staffing becoming more and more difficult, employees leaving, we started noticing fewer and fewer employees coming in for interviews. And as that number started to decrease and we started to recognize this crisis that we were finding ourselves in, the state was able to bring together some American Rescue Act money. They were able to bring in 5%, which equates to about $1 an hour increase. So where we stand today is around $12.50 an hour as an industry. $12.50 an hour is not enough. As you drive around and see the different fast food restaurants, retail, anywhere between $15 and $18 an hour. We're talking about the most vulnerable population in Utah, the people that need help more than anyone else. And we can't compete. We're in a situation where we cannot raise prices, or we can't raise the wages based off of the situation we're in. We are funded through state and federal dollars. And the only way to increase wages is through the legislature, through the Division of Services for People with Disabilities. In most situations throughout the state, people are able to adjust prices or adjust hours. And as you see that throughout the community, you notice the dollar store is now $1.25. You notice that certain restaurants aren't serving breakfast or other parts of their menu. We can't make those adjustments on our own. And as we continue down this road, we are advocating for that increase to get wages up to $17, $18 an hour. Our request is $40 million to the state. And that's what it's going to take in state dollars to get those wages where they need to be to compete. The other scary part about this situation is we are, as a provider, we are starting to look at options and ways to still provide services. Our ultimate goal is health and safety. But when health and safety start becoming a risk because we don't have employees, we are forced to make decisions, and decisions that are very difficult. We're dealing with situations where we're having to close or consolidate homes in the community, moving people to settings that they may not want to be in, but we have to because we don't have the staff to meet the basic needs. We're also there's situations where we don't feel that we have the ability to meet the needs based off the staffing crisis. And so because of that, we're having to make drastic changes. Caseworkers through the state are reporting that it has become more and more difficult to find placements for individuals. They're also reporting that there's been an increase in in providers letting them know that they can no longer serve individuals. When this road continues, there are not options for individuals with disabilities in the state. If we can't provide services, there is nowhere for them to go. Our system is very fragile. And if we don't do something about the current situation we're in, individuals with disabilities' lives will largely be impacted. Lastly, I want to just give a shout out to the employees that are working in the industry. Thank you for all of your effort. Thank you for your dedication and your service. Without you, we cannot survive, and these people need us.
Hi, I'm Mike Menning, and we have lived in Utah for 20 years. I served in Minnesota. I served in both the State House and in the Senate. And all those years, I never saw a crisis like this one. And I'm here to tell about Michael. One of the reasons why I'm here is, this might be a little unusual, but in the Bible, Proverbs 31, at the end of that chapter, there was a new king that was coming about. His name was Lemuel. And King Lemuel's mother gave him some advice. And it's listed there. One of the things she said is, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Our son Michael is living in a group home. He has brain damage, and he's nonverbal. It takes a while for workers to understand him, but I'm bilingual. I speak the English language and I speak Michael's language. He makes grunts, he makes sounds, he has developed his own sign language. And as this turnover is just incredible, they don't know how to deal with Michael. The situation, by the way, also, I want to say, I serve on the Utah Developmental Disabilities Council and then a board of trustees for disability law. And serving on a board like that, disability law, they have the responsibility to enforce federal law wherever federal funds are used. One of the reasons why providers have been hesitant to speak up, because when they speak up, they are admitting that they are in violation of federal law. And it's just one after another, you could check them off. That's one thing. The providers in this state, the ones that I know, are doing a great job. Where our son Michael is, we were totally satisfied, 100%. We were so excited about the care that he got. But in a year and a half, it's gone down to a point of where the client to ratio staff person, where there's supposed to be 4 people on staff, I've walked in 3 times in the past month, there's 1 person on staff. And it's not because of the provider. The direct care workers have stuck with it. A couple of them have. I walked in the other night and I said, man, you look like you're tired. He said, I am. He said, I'm the only person here with 9 clients. He's got to give them the meds. He has to take them to the bathroom, which they have found a solution because it's impossible for them to take proper care of our son. And they now have put diapers on him. And it's like putting diapers on anybody in this room, because Michael knows how to go to the bathroom, but he just needs some help. But they're forcing him to wet his pants, to soil his pants, and that is because of state policy. That's because the governor doesn't understand. I would like to show them what's going on to our dear son and to everybody that's there. We, in this state, I see the legislature is bragging about the fact that we have a surplus and they want to give a few bucks back to the people. We need to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. This is the biggest crisis and inhumane thing that has ever happened in the state of Utah. They cannot take care of the people. They are great people. It's not the provider's fault. but it's because of the policy of this state. That's where it's all at. And the state-run organizations, the Developmental Disability Center in Provo, the state hospital, they have increased the direct care workers' wages to $17.50, and they refuse to do it for the vast majority of handicapped people in this state. I have never dreamed that I would be in this position. And I've looked at other states. Other states have the same problem, but no one to the degree of the problem in Utah. And so I just want to say to the people of this great state, and I want to say thank you to the media for bringing this message out. I really doubt that our policymakers are such bad people. I think it's simply because they don't know. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Appreciate you all sharing your stories and experiences with us about this very real issue. We have some time for questions. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand and I will direct them appropriately. Possibly comments? Yes, please.
I think that the wages should go up to $20 an hour, and that would make the people want to come to work there and stay. And the state should agree with that, so it shouldn't be a heartache to them.
Thank you. Yes, please.
I agree. Our wages need to go up for the direct care. We cannot have a temporary fix. We cannot be putting a Band-Aid on broken bones. We cannot be putting tape on a collapsed roof. So why are we just doing a temporary fix? So I mean, I agree. We need a permanent solution because our loved ones are the ones that are suffering. And we gotta make them see that if we care enough for our loved ones, they should start caring too for our direct care staff.
Well, I saw you looking at me, so I figured you may be talking to me, but often the way it happens with a group asking for money, when you go to the legislature, and I've had many years of experience, they ask for maybe up here. Politics and serving in government is the great art of compromise. And so they start over here and they end up somewhere over here. Personally, I think the providers of this state have asked for too little. That's a very important point because it's going to take $40 million to bring it up to $17.50 an hour. And someone just told me that Taco Bell, I think it is, that some of them are offering up to $20 an hour now. So if the legislature gives $40 million, that's still $17.50. And the way the inflation is going in this state, in this country, I should say, we're going to run the same problem. Even if we get to $17.50 now, the $40 million, we're going to have the same problem in 2 years. So there has to be a clause in there that gives an automatic increase tied to the rate of inflation.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, in the corner.
As a primary consumer, in one of the programs I'm involved in, we've had a turnover we have on staff 9 individuals. We've had a turnover of 8 new staff in 2021, where we were doing most everything for half the year virtually, and we've still lost staff. And this morning, I noticed a post on Facebook from our center that we're hiring again. We just hired somebody 2 weeks ago, and I'm questioning people. Okay, who did we lose? How are we losing again? So yes, to be able to function, to keep things going at any level, we need people that we can keep, people who want to be there, but aren't tied down because there's nothing else. Unfortunately, as we say, there are options in food industry, especially in Utah. Are not people worth more than fast food?
Thank you.
Excuse me, could I say just, I'll make it quick here. There's something that hasn't been brought out, and I think Neil touched on it, but the staff that have been faithful and the ones that really care and love our children. The one I talked to you about, I walked in, one guy on duty, I said to him, I'm tempted to use his name, but I'm not going to. He said, I said, how many hours have you worked this week? And he said, at the end of this day, he said, I will have put in 90 hours. The other people that are they're really faithful, and their health is showing it. There's a lady of 60 years old. She's the mom there to Michael that Dawn can't be. And she is now, I can just see it. She's got back pain, and she's averaging over 60 hours a week. So the faithful ones are still there, but they're working, it's inhumane.
Yes, please.
Neil, some have suggested that there might be non-monetary solutions to this. Can you speak to what providers are doing, and directors are doing, and providers to address the problem, and everything that you've done in your limited capacity without state intervention?
Yeah, I think when we talk about employee retention, we talk about the turnover rate being so high. We have started this process, and we've had this process forever. Turnover has always been extremely difficult, and as providers, we are doing all of those steps along the way. Communication has always been a problem in the industry, because we are in a situation, unlike most work environments. Most of our homes, our group home settings, they don't have a supervisor on staff. There's a manager that works alongside or in place of employees most situations, but when a manager is not working, that is usually when someone else is filling that gap, and there's very little multi-staff situations where there is a supervisor or even a manager that works alongside them. Communication is something that we always are striving to do, helping to inform people and help educate people about the individuals. Training in this industry has to be hands-on, as LuWenn mentioned. It's not something that you can just hand somebody a paper and say, this is your this is how to work with your son or your daughter. It's something that you have to learn and know with the people. And I think one of the hardest things that continues to cause turnover is the lack of information that's being exchanged. Because employees are working 70, 90-hour weeks, they are also experiencing burnout. And as those employees leave, who then is training? Who then is reaching out? We are doing everything we can in the industry with bonuses and reach outs. When I went to one of my offices the other day, a director was filling the tote full of snacks and treats and meals, ramen noodles for employees so that they had things to snack on while they were at work. We are literally trying every method we can to help reach the individuals that are helping and working with the people, but it is very, very difficult.
And we as parents also want to do more to show our appreciation for the workers who are so dedicated. I don't know if people who have not experienced having someone in full-time care can appreciate the vast number of people that it takes to support one person in the community. The concept of community inclusion and of people being supported in the community is fairly new. And so in many ways, we are learning as we go what it takes to support someone with significant needs in the community. This is a big crisis. It is the biggest crisis we have faced. And the decisions that we make now will influence what happens going forward. I mentioned this funding that the providers are asking for and that we as families are pleading for to keep our family members in services and to keep them safe and healthy. It's just the first step. There is so much more that we need to do. I've been involved in disability advocacy for more than 20 years, and for many of those years, we have talked about the need to professionalize direct care support and to have an organization and to have credentials for our direct care staff. And I fully support that. I fully support us exploring other ideas that can help this industry and make it not just a job, but a career. Because I know there are people who want to do this work. I know there are people who have worked with Elaine who wish they could have stayed but have had to leave so that they could make enough money to support their families or to contribute to their family's income. And so we as parents want to be part of that solution. We want to contribute whatever resources we have to the issue as well. And I just want to commit that we will find those solutions going forward, but we need this funding now just to keep the system running.
If I could just respond to, I think there's an overlooked vast resource in this state. You know, Tennessee claims that they're on their license plate it says the volunteer state. I don't believe that. I think it's Utah, because I think the culture here in Utah, they want to volunteer, and they certainly would like to volunteer with people who have disabilities. AmeriCorps has a program. It used to be called Foster Grandparent Program. It's now called, I see someone here has heard of that. It's now called the Senior Companion Program. And you take in our day activities, you know, just to provide activities. These folks in our group home, there's no activities, folks. They sit in front of the TV all day long. And now just this week, they're introducing a few things. Not because the provider is bad, it's because they couldn't do it. But I have seen in other states, and I've been on the phone with the director of AmeriCorps, and there are states that use retired people that will go in. It's a wonderful program. They'll go in maybe once a week or even more. Some of them are up to 4 days a week, and they become a companion of one person with disability. They can help them in the day program. They can take them out for lunch, that type of thing. They can take them to a park. Even with COVID, they could take them to a park. And I think in this culture, in Utah, and I'm not LDS, but I'll tell you one thing. The LDS people want to volunteer, and I think that we could tap into that resource. So I think, you know, we need the money. We need the 40. Personally, I think you should have started out with 60 for asking for 60 million, but you started out at only 40 million. So we need that, but I think there's other ways that we can address some of these problems as well.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments and your thoughts. That concludes the time that we have today. So again, thank you very much for being here and for listening and going out and advocating on behalf of Utahns with disabilities and their family members and the provider system and everyone who really could use your support. So again, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.